Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of American Gothic. So, a very good episode with a lot of twists and turns. I'm just going to run through the list of things. First, we have that reporter, Jennifer, from the last episode. Turns out she's running all these stories because apparently she has a source. And the first person, obviously, Madeline throws out, is like, maybe it's Naomi. And then you have Allison be like, no, it can't be Naomi. It's just like, why? It's because I know her. It's just like, it's like Naomi, no matter what their situation is, there's no way Naomi would betray her like that. Because Naomi does love her. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, she could be brokenhearted after everything played out the way it did. But, I didn't believe that. I was like, the moment that happened, I was like, obviously it's Tom, because we already know, as the audience, we know him and her already slept together. It was very surprising when we had Garrett and Allison finding it out, which I thought it was kind of nice that Garrett was like, all friends, like, oh, together we'll work together and find out who the source is. I thought that was kind of pretty, nice, because you see them kind of bonding in the car, kind of in their little stakeout. Even the part where it's like, oh, like he sees Tom coming out. He's like, yo, we should get out of here. Allison's like, what are you talking about? We still have to wait. And she sees Tom. It's like Garrett was trying to shield her from that. So that was kind of neat. Because to me, I looked at it like the moment that happened, I was like, that's such like messed up irony. It's like you got on her about the whole Naomi situation and you ended up making her in the relationship. And now here you are cheating, because I thought the whole purpose of her ending that relationship was for y'all to be back on good terms so that y'all can just be a family again. Granted, by the time like Tom and her had Jennifer had slept together, like the whole them being back together, a team again, hadn't happened yet. But I mean, granted, he was still, showing up at her house earlier, like kissing her, which he tried to play off like, no, that was just me trying to find out who the source is. Like, no, you were kissing her. Don't try to pass that BS off. Like, she's like, you could get with anyone, a nanny, whoever, but you picked a reporter. How much of an idiot can you be? I mean, because like I said, like, what was the whole point of her breaking up with Naomi then if you're just going to backstep the whole situation and be like, oh, I'm going to continue my affair? The whole point was to come back together as a family. Like I said, it's not like either one of them is completely spotless in this situation. She's had her situation with Naomi, now he's had the situation with Jennifer, but nevertheless, in this regard, it's kind of like you're trying to fix your marriage and you're just not helping it. It's just like, if you want to keep up your fun, it's kind of like a little messed up that you won't let her, keep going with Naomi. But granted, at that point with Naomi, it wasn't just quote unquote fun. It was actually something more, because whether Allison would willingly admit it or not, we obviously know Naomi gained feelings for her, but Allison wasn't ready to admit the fact that she had strong feelings for Naomi too. But then it's like, yep, Tom's obviously the source. But it's like, no, technically he's not, because apparently she bugged her place. But still, technically it was his fault, because he's the one that had sex with her in the kitchen. Let me correct that, sex with her in the pantry, so. Because it didn't click into my head until I saw, like, Garrett pull the bug from underneath the table. I was like, because they showed it at the beginning, the little recap, and it showed her kind of tripping a little bit. I was like, oh, that's what that was, a little faint. And what I loved about that whole situation is when Allison finally confronted her, I'm like, yeah, tear into her. Because she, at the beginning, acted like she was all high and mighty, like she was in the right. Because she's talking to them like, oh, I'm going to keep reporting the things I'm reporting. And if you and your family continue to harass me, I won't be holding back. Because this entire time I've been holding back, ends up bringing up the fact that it's like, oh yeah, Jack's at that camp because of the gene inside of him, basically the warrior gene that tends to make someone more violent. It's like, oh, he's off dealing with that. I could report that, but she didn't necessarily at that time. But then she did eventually do that, as well as reported the whole thing about Tess having being pregnant and whatnot. So that was kind of interesting. It's like, you sit up here with your act like you have the higher moral ground, but it's like, nope, you're a scumbag because you literally illegally got the information by bugging their house. So, and then when it was found out, she was just like all apologetic. I was like, where's all that that moxie you had, puffing your chest out, all that pride you had? And it's just like, no, you're a lowly scumbag. It's kind of interesting how that works, because it's like she's a reporter trying to do her job, but she's just digging up at any dirt she could use, especially because the Hawthorns are such a hot topic, and get her attention and ratings and stuff like that. So in that regard, you kind of understand, you kind of root for the Hawthorns in this situation, because you're kind of like, oh, she's trying to screw over your family. So I will admit that whole situation with the sweater, like take your shirt off and I'm gonna cut it. I legitimately didn't know where that was going. I was like, wait, is this going down the Naomi route? Did she just like, you know what? My husband had his phone with you. I'm gonna have mine with you. It's like, oh, I was like, is this going down there? It's like she cut the shirt. I was like, okay, what's the point of that? She put the shirt back on. It's like, oh, you cut the turtleneck. That's all that was. Okay, did not expect things to go that route. I'm not about to say exactly where I thought that was going to go, but I kind of already went down that route a little bit, but I'm not going to explicitly go down the route. I'm sure you can pretty much guess. So, but that was kind of interesting to me. Just the audacity pretending like you're better, like almost like she was better than him. It's like, oh, your family's in a situation they are. I'm better because I'm reporting it. I'm getting my information from a reliable source, and it's like, no, you got your information in a very scummy and a very, very illegal way. It does make you wonder how things are going to work with Allison and Tom now. I mean, granted, they're kind of like, from this point on, we move with transparency, but it's kind of like, yeah, Tom, this situation never would have happened if you had slept with her, which is like, oh, he basically slept with her out of revenge, and Allison's just kind of like, oh, that's so petty. Like I said, not the most stable of a relationship. It's definitely got its issues. Granted, you gotta admit at least they're trying. Which, I mean, some people might say it might be best if you just went your separate ways. Personally, I think you would have been better off doing that. Allison going off and being with Naomi, and then Tom just finding someone else. Just because it's like you've already reached this point. But I mean, hey, you're willing to try and fix things. More power to you, I guess. You know, that's just how I see it. Then we had the whole situation with Brady and Cutter tracking down that car to that old lady, and she's giving an excuse. It's like, no, my husband is dead. He's been dead for like 27 years. Oh, that car, somebody stole it. Why didn't you report him? I don't know. I didn't think it was that important. I wasn't using it, so it's like, who cares? Do you know Mitchell? No, I don't know. Don't know the name. He's a Silver Bell killer. It's like, I don't know. I don't watch the news or read the news, nothing like that. It's like, okay, and they walk away. Then they end up finding out. It's like, no, she lied. She knows exactly who Mitchell is because she ended up getting wasn't it an obituary like for his funeral, like they got sent out, and she had one. So it's like, okay, she lied to us. Go back to her, find out she's dead, and it's like, well, someone found out that you were getting close, so that sucks. And at the same time, Brady ended up throwing out the theory of like maybe the reason why the crime scenes are so clean and like we're having such a hard time finding evidence is because essentially that there's a cop helping them, or at least someone very powerful that basically someone has helped, someone with some very a lot of power is helping clear them up. So it could easily be like, you know, the current mayor might be associated, who knows, because he does have his own connection to the Hawthorns because he did a lot of shady dealings. Like what I mean is like it was revealed a couple episodes back that, you know, he worked with the Hawthorns and like he greenlit a lot of their construction stuff, even though they were skimming on the materials, like things, basically signing off on stuff that wasn't structurally sound. So stuff like that, or like, you know, my mind, the moment he said that, I immediately thought, oh, like you're thinking that SBK's partner is a cop. Which in that regard, I'm still not set on Mitchell being SBK. Like, we're set on it being him, but I don't think so. Like, his blood being there, I think I still tie this all back to whether SBK is directly connected to their family, like it's a family member, I don't know. I get the feeling they covered up a lot of SBK stuff just because it was maybe it is someone within the family. Like I said, I'm still pushing for the lost child angle of like, oh, it's not one of the kids that we've known. Maybe it's like a half sibling that either Madeline had with someone else, or Mitchell went off and had, you know. Still pulling for that, but, you know, it's no telling where everything could go. Because at the end of this episode, we ended up having Brady get that knife from Jack, and it's like, oh, this is the missing piece in the puzzle. Like, we found this chip piece of the knife. This is the knife it came from. Oh, whose knife is it? It's Garrett's. So it's like, now Garrett's being thrown back in there, but it's just, I don't know. Like I said, too much stuff points to Garrett. Like, I don't think Garrett's involved in this directly, like being SBK or being SBK's partner. What I'm thinking is, like, out of anyone, he's the only one that knows what's really going on. I mean, obviously, besides Madeline, he's the only one that really knows everything. So when it's all said and done, he's probably going to be, at the end of this, be the one to reveal everything. It's like, okay, it's like this. Because we have even Tess now somewhat knows now, because she knows Brady's still investigating SBK because he told her about the whole accomplice thing. So I don't know, like, you know, because Tess has been the most reluctant about believing us, like, oh yeah, Garrett's as bad as people make him out to be. It does seem like everyone is warming back up to him. I don't know, because he is trying to right some wrongs, as he said in this episode, because he donated like $200,000 from them and gave it from the family and gave it to the clinic that Christina works at, saying that basically this family needs to build up some good karma to make up for all the bad crap they're connected to, like all the bad wrongs in their life. They need to make up for them, come together and work up for them. I guess that's why he's sticking around, and that's why he's working so hard to kind of close the gap between him and his siblings. I think, you know, like I said, the whole him and Allison bonding thing, plus him, you know, obviously heavily bonding with Tess this episode, convincing her, is like, yo, you need to keep this pregnancy, because the fact of the matter is he was the first one that first and only person she told, until the reporter like blasted it all over the news. But also because he convinced her, it's like, oh, you should keep this baby. It's like, yeah, I get what you're worried about, the whole like Dad and Jack situations, like that might carry over to your baby, but it's like, nevertheless, considering the person you are, as well as considering the person Brady is, you owe it to the world to bring this child into the world, because it's like, you're a very kind-hearted and wonderful mother, and the same thing, you know, Brady is a very morally righteous guy. So like, you two together will make, you know, a great baby. Like, you know, you'll keep your kid in the right. So like, to me, it doesn't seem like someone who is, you know, trying to cover up for their crimes. It's just covering up for the crimes of other people that he's trying to, you know, because that was the whole point of being with Christina. It's like, he isn't SBK, and I don't think he's SBK's accomplice, but he knows all the facts, and he's trying to make up for it, because he's known this truth for a long time, and he's just held on to it because for the sake of his family. Because that's really what this all comes down to, is keeping his family together. Personally, I don't think he loves his mom, I think. I don't know. It's really hard to tell how he actually feels about Madeline. I think out of anyone, though, he cares the most about his siblings. Like Cam, Tess, and Allison, he like keeping them together. Like, you know, they were at their odds and they had their moments, but, you know, you do see him have his moments with everyone trying to like get back in their lives and stuff. Like, you know, he's missed out on so much these past 14 years. So. And then we had that little thing with Jack and that girl Sadie at that little camp he was at. She squished a bug, and then they met, and it was like love at first sight. It's like, they are a twisted match made in heaven. Because it's like, even that line where Jack was like, oh, we can go to my uncle's cabin. She's like, oh, that sounds so boring. He's like, well, my uncle was like, everyone thought he was a serial killer, and his girlfriend stabbed him. She's like, why didn't you lead with that? It's like, okay, you're just as weird and twisted as it is. Okay. And then there was that whole thing with like the crossbow. She shot an arrow near him, and he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he was about to shoot one towards her, like trying to hit the can off her, but he was pointing it more towards her face a little bit. His hands were shaking, he was breathing heavily, and he just backed down. She's just like, I'm so disappointed in you. So I don't know how to interpret that. Is that him like finally getting close to that line where he's just kind of like, well, I have to back up. I have to back up. This is actually too much for me. Or is he actually afraid to cross that line? I don't know how to interpret that. It could be either way. I like to think he's getting close to that line and he's backing away just because he's like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, maybe it's kind of that, I don't know, like maybe there's a part of his brain that's just like super nervous about crossing that line. He wants to cross it, but he just, I don't know. I mean, because it seems weird for you to kind of back down this episode when you were super for it last episode when you're going to let one of your cousins drown. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe he's kind of balancing out and just that side of him is kind of calming down. I mean, granted, it could easily legitimately be something in his genes. It could be that warrior gene that's kind of make him a little more violent, which he hasn't outright been violent towards anyone. He's done some kind of weird crap, but he hasn't done anything. Well, granted, that's a lie because he cut off that cat's tail. Those are usually precursors to sociopaths or psychopaths, one of the two. I know there is a distinction between the two. So I don't know. I just thought that's kind of interesting. It did seem like he finally had someone that liked him and he liked in return, because it's kind of like, she was like, yeah, I don't like people either, except for you. I kind of like you. It's like, wow, she said that pretty bluntly. I mean, it's very interesting. The fact is that you came to this conclusion you've known him for like, what, less than a day? You already like him? Come on. Don't you think you're moving a little fast, kid? But granted, I guess that's quote unquote puppy love. It's just like things move super fast when you're younger. It's just like, oh, I'm in love. I'm not in love. I'm so in love. I'm not in love. Oh, we're going to be together forever. Sadly, we broke up after 2 weeks. That's just how I see that. And then finally, let's talk about Cam's side of the story, which we see Cam, he is doing a little bit better. Ended up meeting that super nice nurse April, who is basically like, I'm actually a big fan of you and your comics. They're amazing. It's just like, oh, talking to him and everything. And, she tells him about, what is it, the West African frog or whatever. It basically changes its sex. So saying like, basically, you don't have to stay the way you are. You can change at any time, From a biological sense, a frog is like, okay, you're one sex and you stay that way. But it's like, no, this frog is like, screw my DNA. Screw what nature has in store for me. It's like, if I'm a male, but I want to switch over to being a female, I do it. And in Cam's word, it's like, okay, basically giving a middle finger to its DNA. So it's kind of like, even what's encoded in your DNA, whether it's with this whole drug situation or whether it's with your whole dad situation, you don't have to cater to it. You can change. You just have to try. You have to be willing to. And you see him having fun with her. I was like, the moment that all happened, I was like, wow, look at you, Cam. Okay, already another woman in your life already? That's kind of interesting. And then I love the fact that Sophie shows up and you kind of just see her kind of like, oh yeah, oh, look at you, Cam. Aren't you happy and having fun? Oh, you look good. She's like, maybe I'll try this whole rehab thing. And he's like, really? I thought you said this whole rehab thing is so stupid. She's like, no, I can change my mind. And the moment she said that, I was like, oh God. For one, it's like, you're so obviously jealous because you see him having fun with someone else. And you, like, to me, that's always been my thing with Sophie. It's like she wants him high in a sense of she likes them being together. She doesn't want to let him go because she knows that if he gets clean, he will leave her. I think that's the mentality she has, because let's not forget, at the beginning of the series, they were going to get divorced. And like, he'd been clean for a little less than a year, but like they were getting divorced. But the moment he started getting high again, she kind of found a way back into his life. Like I said, it's a very destructive relationship. It's something that April ended up making him realize after Sophie tried to get her fired, being like, oh, she gave him the idea of taking his comic and turning it into a graphic novel just for monetary gain, because she's going to want a piece of it, because she's like, oh, I came up with the idea, so I think she should be fired. But the boss lady didn't take it seriously, and April told Cam, was just like, she kind of broke it down. I thought it was kind of interesting how she broke it down, basically saying like, oh, Cam is to heroin as Cam is to Sophie. That basically, that it's all good that when you get that hit of, both heroin as well as Sophie, once you get that hit, you love it. It's just so good. It's the best feeling in the world. But afterwards, you just end up hating yourself. And so, which, everyone can bluntly see, but I guess it took her kind of putting it in perspective for him, because everyone knows she was kind of a bad, example to be around. But it's just kind of like, after everything they've been through, the fact that they have a kid together, plus, part of their thing is always kind of breaking up and coming back together. Like he said it himself, it's just like, well, she basically said like, okay, yeah, we're breaking up now, but this is what always happens. Then we like argue and yell and throw stuff at each other. And he's like, yeah, exactly my point. That's part of our thing, like a part of our cycle. And we have to break it, and just I have to cut myself off from you. And just he kind of walks away. So it's kind of like interesting. I mean, he is legitimately trying, because it has been kind of a scene as like ever since Sophie kind of got back into his life, it did seem like, hey, he's not trying to pull away from her as much. Eventually, it kind of seems, because he's confused, So, like, I feel bad for Sophie. I do legitimately wish she would get clean and they could get back together. But, like, the thing is, you can obviously tell that she wouldn't she's not necessarily going to try to. She just wants, I felt like the whole point was going to be like, oh, I'm going to get myself set up in this rehab too so that I can be with you because I don't want to let you go. That's how I thought it was going to be. I didn't expect her to like try and get April fired. I thought she was going to worm her way into the facility and keep an eye on him and keep him separate from April, because it makes you wonder, is that going to turn into something? It looks like it might be. I don't know, because it seems like April isn't trying to get attached to him. She probably looks at him as like, oh, I'm a fan of your work and I just want to help you through this, you know. I mean, what would be really messed up when we find out that she really is after him for monetary gain. It's just like, oh, I got close to you. Oh, you wrote that novel? Yeah, pay me because I helped you come up with the idea. So it'd be kind of messed up if we end up finding out Sophie was right. But I don't know. From the little bit of time we've gotten to experience this character of April, I don't think she's that type of person. She does seem like she is legitimately trying to help him out as both a nurse as well as a fan, because she wants him to kind of get past this because she likes, you know, his work and probably wants him to continue his work. She will most definitely be sad if he, like, you know, died from his addiction. So overall, a very good episode. I like the twists and turns with everything. I legitimately, I can't even hazard a guess as to who the accomplice is. Like, I'm still not even set on the killer being Mitchell. Like, what is this big dark secret that Madeline and Garrett are hiding? I mean, is their family really as messed up as they think they are? Like, you know, everyone, because this is all from the fact is that, oh, Mitchell is quote unquote SBK. So that's where this is all striving from. Like, oh, we got this warrior gene in our blood. Like, we all have the potential of this, like, intense violence and stuff like that. But this is all based on the fact is of Mitchell being SBK. But if he's not SBK, doesn't that kind of take your family off the hook of being like, oh, I guess we kind of worried about nothing? Because I don't think any of you have actually been checked for it. Yeah, up to this point, no one's actually been checked for it. So it's kind of hard to say, like, that you really have it or not. It's just, I don't know. I'm very interested to find out more about this. Like, what's going to happen next episode? Because we got Brady and Cutter being like, yo, we got a knife. Garrett's involved. Let's question him. And I love to see what kind of answers he's going to give. Because remember, he wanted to come out with the truth before, but he couldn't because his mom kind of pressured him into not doing it. So it does make you wonder, will that play a part? Like, will he finally tell the truth because he's like, all right, mom's not here, so... Or maybe be a situation where it's like, whoever killed that old lady, it might kill Garrett next, because it's like, okay, he knows too much too. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, really, that's all based on whether or not Garrett's the one, if Garrett killed that lady or not, which I don't think he killed that old lady. I'm pretty sure that was someone else. I don't know. I'm kind of liking the theory of SBK, or at very least SBK's accomplice being someone in the police or someone of some kind of political power. Like I said, it could easily be the current mayor. I don't know. Just, there's so many different directions this could go, and I'm just very intrigued to see where it does. We'll just have to get some more information along the road. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.